and Cheetah Girls Galleria gives Dorinda that weird collage.
Girl, wait. I got you something. Wait a second, Dorinda. Look at this. I got you these cute little clippings of outfits, which you could probably put together and hook it up for the next time we see Jackal. We don't want you to look toe up and janky.
But all the clothes are like ugly as shit. I think about that a lot. More importantly though, Cinderella.
When I was just a little girl, my mama used to tuck me into bed.
The song they perform at the Manhattan Magnet Talent Show has an interesting history. As we all know, the Cheetah Girls walked so High School Musical could run, so Lemonade Mouth could fly. It was the first massively successful Disney Channel original movie musical. Like, it was so successful that 3/4 of the movie girl group decided they should become a real girl group with the same name, same songs, and different stage presence. 8.5 million people tuned in to watch the premiere back in 2003, and the movie soundtrack charted 33 on the Billboard chart and later went double platinum. Tracks like Cinderella, Girl Power, and I'm kidding, became slumber party anthems, and critics didn't hate it either. About a year ago, Adrienne Bailon, the Cheetah Girl best known for not washing her hands,
you need to wash your hands after you use the restroom,
yes.
period.
Wait, let's give Aid, hold on.
Not at home.
Give Aid.
What did I touch? It's my house.
No, but after you use the bathroom, you touch your behind, girl.
No, the toilet paper touches my behind. I don't touch my behind.
revealed a little known fact about one of the Cheetah Girls' biggest songs.
The song that Cheetah Girls is mainly known for, that people put on the internet, Cinderella, was originally not the Cheetah Girls song. Originally a girl group named Play, and that was their song.
This is true, and it's not. Play is a Swedish pop girl group that debuted in 2001. Their first single, Us Against the World, charted almost immediately, and they pretty much had instant success.
I'll bet money on Brianna any day.
Their success in both Sweden and the United States was impressive. They opened for Aaron Carter and even Destiny's Child. They had partnerships with Limited 2, and they did a song with Lil Bitch from B2K, that's his name, right? For the Master of Disguise soundtrack, which also featured Vitamin C and Jhené Aiko. Alright, Play's second single was Cinderella. In the early days, just after the release of the Cheetah Girls film, a few music nerds were very confused about this. So who sings it, they would ask, Cheetah Girls or Play? Which one came first? But this question's answer was neither. The first girl group to sing this song was not Cheetah Girls in 2003, nor was it Play in 2002. It was a girl group called I-5 in 2000. There was a time when it seemed like every country on earth had a pop group of their own. In a market saturated with all sorts of pop groups, you'd think the music companies would be scrambling to do something different, but most were scrambling to get a pop group and to find an it factor that would make them stand out from everyone else. Giant Records was no exception. A subsidiary label for Warner Music Group, Giant Records' specialty was dance pop records. But they also hosted a fuck ton of Air Supply and like Kenny Rogers of all people. In 1999, the label decided they wanted to make a girl group of their own, and with the likes of TLC's No Scrubs topping the charts, Destiny's Child, Bills, and seeing groups like Dream and 3LW, which co-starred 2/3 of the real Cheetah Girls, including Keely, I'll Throw My Plate of Food at Your Face Williams,
But that was last year, boy, in the 8th grade.
slowly make themselves known, it was no wonder why. At the time, most labels were leading nationwide searches to find their superstars, but Giant Records decided to look globally. Before they knew which girls they would be recruiting, they already knew the name of the group and the message they would have. I-5, short for International 5. They wanted 5 girls from 5 different countries, the hook being that they would have a bigger and more diverse fan base. They found talent in members Kate Macalino from the Philippines, Talbi Hajic from Israel, Andy McCormick from the UK, Gabby Iquez from Mexico, and Christina Rumbly from the United States. The group was put together officially in 1998. The most attention they got was for a song on the soundtrack for Center Stage. That summer, the girls completed their first album and promoted what was meant to be the lead single on the famous All That and More Nickelodeon tour. The song was called Distracted, and it can only technically be called a single.
I think about love. I get distracted.
I-5 had little to no promotion. There were only like 2 articles written about them, and they only ever had 1 TV appearance, and this is the only remaining footage of it. And neither their single nor their album was ever properly promoted. Okay, I say properly, it was never promoted. The thing was that Giant Records was kind of already doing a shit job long before it came time to promote the album, because they didn't have any money. Their decision to create a super girl group to rival their competitors was not done so much out of like, I don't know, greed, as is the case with most record companies, I feel. I-5 was a last-ditch effort to save a label that was already failing. By 1998, the company was struggling to stay afloat. Enter I-5. An ad was put in newspapers all over the world, and girls lined up to show their talents in the hopes of becoming America's next top model. In an article written in preparation for I-5's debut album, Christina Rumbly revealed that there had been a different lineup before, but the chemistry was off, so now their girl group was better than ever. That group formed Other Girls, and it fizzled out. It wasn't right. The contracts were bad. A couple of us kept going with the idea and found the rest of the group.
Collectively, we've been together for 2 years.
Since 1998. Working toward their debut album since 1998. Practicing and performing in the basement of Giant Records since 1998. That kinda sucks. Again, this article is one of the only promotional tools used to make the girls known to the world. There were the tours, of course, but tours, especially all that and more Nickelodeon tours, aren't as effective as, say, a segment on MTV or radio play, neither of which I-5 got. After being a group for 2 years, the label did nothing to boost their popularity. Few people now even remember that they existed. It wasn't until the spring of 2000 that attempts were made to get their name out to the public, and it was all done in a rush, with September 1st being the deadline, as it was that day that their debut album was set for release. When the album came out, it failed to chart, and it failed to sell. Are we surprised though? You gave these girls 5 months to make people care about that album, and you did it by 1 TV appearance and 2 interviews. Wow, how did it not go #1? There's so little information about I-5, so everything from this point is just me thinking out loud, but I do wonder if the group was even given enough financial support. Giant Records was already running out of money, and the Warner Music Group had no interest in continuing to invest in a subsidiary label that wasn't making any bank. So by the time the audition advertisements were sent out, the label was hanging by a thread. They most likely barely had the money for things like photo shoots, dance lessons, or whatever the hell else music group's budget is spent on, I don't know. The saddest thing to me is that 4 out of 5 of these girls hopped on flights to leave their home countries. Those flights were probably fucking expensive. And I can't help but wonder how many of them had to carve out cash from their own savings to leave home, only to land in a country with a music label that barely had funding and was a few months away from going belly up. The minimal promotion makes me question just how much money the label even had available to properly invest in the album. Don't get me wrong, the girls' vocals are fine, they're doing what they can, but for example, the first track on the album is La Di Di La Di Da. It sounds like this.
I wanna see you come into my life before I give you some la di di la di da.
I know, full-on bop, but this isn't an original song written specifically for their album, it's a cover song. The song originally came out in 1998, the leading single from the debut album of Soap, a Danish pop duo. It charted pretty high in Australia, France, New Zealand, and Sweden. Didn't really reach the US, but it's still a popular song. There are plenty of other songs on the album written by established songwriters, including Steve Kipner, who wrote for Christina Aguilera,
and this classic from Kelly Rowland.
But there were also plenty of tracks written by songwriters who haven't written anything since. Presumably, people who the label decided to take a risk on because they didn't have any experience to begin with, and therefore they could probably pay them a lower fee. But again, at this point, I'm really just speculating. Their debut album came out and was an absolute commercial failure. By this point, everyone knew there was no way to save Giant Records from ending, and by 2001, Warner Brothers had reabsorbed the company, leaving the girls of I-5 without a label. I admire these girls though, because after all was said and done, they spent months trying to find a new label to represent them. They were determined. Unfortunately, however, it didn't work out. They went their separate ways by the end of that year, and that was it. But barely a year later, in June of 2002, what would have been I-5's second single became Play's second single. It wasn't like Play stole the song, by the way. It's, again, technically a cover song. The music in all three versions have slight differences in instrumentation, and the girls in Play were super young, so it does sound a little more juvenile than both the Cheetah Girls version and the I-5 version, but it's cute. Then again, about a year later, the Cheetah Girls movie debuted on Disney Channel, and its album quickly followed. It was a hit, selling 2 million copies in the US alone. The success of Play and Cheetah Girls, specifically the success of their recordings of Cinderella, which Radio Disney later gave Song of the Year, confirmed that I-5 had something to work with. They just didn't have the financial support. I do wonder if it would have been different for them if, say, they were able to do more magazine spreads and to promote with music videos. They had 0 music videos and all that jazz. Maybe they would have released that one album and left it at that. Maybe they would have released 2 and joined the likes of Eden's Crush and 3LW as memorable but short-lived girl groups. Maybe nothing would have changed at all. But we'll never know, will we?
Take it, because it's not optional. And, where exactly are you gonna go get your personality makeover? Because I forgot.
Got him!